Hello everyone. I, Ms. Tanvi Bhole, welcome you all again in the day 1, session 2. Session 2 is on bringing interactive in the Moocs. And for this session, we have with us Mr. Viplav Bakshi as the speaker. He is an EdTech professional and he has over 26 years of experience in strategy, pedagogy, content, digital transformation, product design, and engineering across K-12, higher education, publishing, corporate, e-learning, vocational education, and test preparation sectors. He is currently the Senior VP and Chief Product Officer at Nimbus Technology, a digital knowledge platform, and has worked with Akash Education as Vice President. As Director, Product and Digital Transformation at Oxford University Press, and also as a Chief Product Architect at FlipLearn. And he's worked as a CEO at Atelier Learning System, and has held many other senior level positions in his career. So I welcome Mr. Viplav Bakshi, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, so
hi everybody.
I hand over the session to you, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining in. I see we have about 69, 70 participants and growing. So we'll give them a minute to join in as well. In the meantime, are you able to hear me all okay? If you are okay, just type a message in the chat window saying you're okay, you're hearing me okay. And I've also created a small chat channel on Slack. It's a tool that allows you to collaborate. It's very easy to join on board on that. And I'm sending you the link in the chat window for that as well. So if you click on the link in the meantime, join this backend. I'll just start the session. That'll be great. Today we'll be using a bunch of different tools to interact, different things that we'll be doing. We'll also be talking about a bit about what is the history of Moocs and what are the kind of Moocs that you've been used to, and what are the kind of Moocs that were created in 2008 and when the first Moocs came, and with what philosophy and with what approach, and how you can start looking at interactivity and Mooc design in a very different manner from what you've already been seeing. So that is what we'll try and do today. Please do join the Slack channel, and I'll start my presentation in a minute. It would also be good to have some of your introductions in the Slack channel. Let me just quickly show it to you, what I've created, so you can take a look at that. This is the one. You can join this particular Slack channel. The link has been sent to you in the chat. I can reshare the link if you like. Just click on that and join this channel. And when you are in this channel, you will see various sub-channels here, and you can introduce yourself in this FDP channel out here. Just write a message here and say hello. So please go on and actually join this session, and I'll start my presentation in the meantime. And if you have any trouble, let me know and we'll try and solve it. So let's start the session on interactive Mooc. And I'll explain the difference between what a Mooc is, what an XMooc is, and what a CMooc is shortly. But let's start with the basic introduction to where I am. Okay? So my first question to all of you is, You've been hearing of Moocs. Maybe some of you have been actually creating the Moocs also. Many of you have participated in Moocs. What do you really think about Moocs? I would like to just talk, understand from you. What is it that you think about Moocs? What is your perception when you first think about, encounter the term Moocs? What does it mean to you? Anybody can unmute and let me know. I want this to be as interactive as possible, so please unmute, speak, use the chat box, use the Slack channel, and talk about your opinions, please. And I'll keep on documenting it here as well. Let's see if I can get back. Hold on.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Moocs is basically massive open online course, and basically it's a 4-quadrant approach.
Okay. So I'll just write it here. You said some 4-quadrant approach, right? So I'll just write it here. It's something called a 4-quadrant approach. Okay. What do Moocs mean actually for you? Any other suggestions? Any other questions or thoughts? Anybody can use the chat box to write. What do Moocs mean? What is the full form of a Mooc? Can you tell me the full form of a Mooc? Anybody? Are you guys able to hear me?
Massive open online courses.
Okay. Okay. What are they used for? What is it that they're used for?
Developing e-content for a particular course.
Okay, developing e-content. What else? What else are they useful for? Anybody can unmute and speak. This is an interactive MOOC, so you have to make it as interactive as possible for me. Participants, can you share any thoughts about MOOCs? What you have heard, anything that you've heard about MOOCs before? I'd like to understand what's your current level of awareness about MOOCs. Anybody? I know it's post lunch, but I'm sure some of you are interested in this MOOC, in this FDP. Can you tell me anything about MOOCs? Anything that other thing that you know, apart from 4-quadrant approach, massive open online course, developing e-content, anything else that you can think of about MOOCs? What do MOOCs enable? On what platforms are MOOCs presented? Okay, free online. Okay, so one is free online. Okay, so there's some amount of free in it. What else? Any platform that you've seen it working on, like where do you find MOOCs? Who creates these MOOCs? What are they used for? Affordable way, okay. To learn new skills. That's very good. Okay, what else? Skill enhancement, knowledge enhancement, all right. Okay, what else? Created by experts. Very good. Leading practitioners. All right. Where do you see them available? Where can you find Moocs? Okay, flexible time at your own speed and time. Okay, great. What else? Anything else that you can think about Moocs? Like, what is does your style of, okay, NPTEL is one area where you can find Moocs, all right. Does your style of teaching change in any which way? Do the students, are the students any different from where you are? Describe that teaching journey. Okay, so I am. Right. Any other Mooc that you may have taken? Alison, okay. Right. What about a teaching journey? Your teaching or learning journey. How is it different in Moocs? Okay, have you taken any Moocs of your own? Have you conducted Moocs, like, or designed any Mooc before on any platform? Have you recorded any videos or created anything on Swayam so far? Whoever has, please say yes. Okay. Have you participated in any course as an open online course as yet? Anything on Swayam? Anybody who has participated in any Mooc anywhere? Could be Coursera, Udacity, NPTEL, Swayam, Allison. Anywhere you've taken a course? If you have, what kind of course have you taken? And can anybody describe that experience? What that experience was like? Anyone who's taken any Mooc course whatsoever? Go ahead. Anything about what are the elements of a Mooc? Like, what are the parts of a Mooc? Like video courses, what all do you have in a Mooc? You know?
Yes, sir. Basically, they will be having modules and they will provide assignments according to the modules. We have to clear the assignments.
Okay.
And then finally, if at all you will go for the Coursera types of Moocs, we have to clear the final assignment. And if you are going for NPTEL Swayam Moocs, they will be having online exam.
Or online exam. Okay, great. Have you, ma'am, taken any of the Moocs yourself? Have you taken any Mooc yourself, ma'am? Sorry, I can't hear anybody. Okay, I'm assuming that the answer is no. So let's go from here to the next question.
Hello?
Okay. Can you hear me okay now? I don't know if okay, I'm on. All right. You can send messages to everyone in the group, okay? Not just directly to me, you can send to everybody. Now, let's take this one. What does massive mean to you? So you've understood that there is, it's called massive open online course. What does massive mean? What does this mean to you? What does massive mean? Can you explain what massive means to you? What's the interpretation of massive? Why is it called massive?
Sorry.
Yes.
So it will collect the, or it will give the, it will contribute the maximum subjects, maximum
Contribute the
topics,
maximum
topics.
Like you'll find a MOOC for everything.
Yes.
Like that. You can find a MOOC for everything. Okay. For nearly everything. Okay, I'll put that. That is one definition of massive. Okay. The other one is huge amount of data. Huge amount of data. Where does the data come from? That's why where does the data come from? Can somebody help Maya? She is unable to unmute. Pratik or somebody from the Vidalanka
Yes,
team.
sir. Who people are not able to speak. Our
Yeah.
mic is disabled. That is why we are not able to answer.
So can you make everybody able to speak? Because I need them to speak and provide inputs.
They are looking at it, sir.
Okay, I can see if I can do that. And we keep it running on the chat.
Yes,
Right.
participants, now you can message in the chat box.
Yeah, message to everybody so everybody can see your contributions also. Don't just send it to me, but send it to everybody. Send to everyone in meeting. Okay, we have huge amount of data. What else? Is everybody unmuted now? You know, I see a bunch of them. Whoever wants to unmute can unmute themselves and speak. Or type in the chat box, either which way. What are the other things that you can think about in Moocs? Massive, the term massive, what does it mean? Where does a huge amount of data come from? Okay, please respond, Madhvi.
Yes, sir. Now we can respond.
Yes, please. Good. What else? Where does the data come from? The huge amount of data that's coming here. Jayesh Kumar wrote that Moocs generate huge amount of data. That's why they're called massive. Okay. Where does this data come from? What is this data?
So the data will come from the experienced persons.
Experienced persons could be one. Okay.
Sorry, sir.
What else? Where else could data be coming from?
Information.
Sorry?
Collection of information is nothing but the data.
Collection of information is data. That is fine. So all this information will come from very experienced people, and they will come and tell you that this is all that huge amount of data, and this information is what you will learn. That's right. What else? What is massive in Moocs?
So one meaning of massive can be, it can be reached to a large number of people at the same time.
Okay, wonderful. So large number of people at the same
Can
time
enroll for the course.
can enroll. Okay, very good.
And the data mainly comes from internet.
Data comes from internet.
Yeah, like
Okay.
whatever websites or
What kind of
search
data?
engine you can put the data.
Okay.
I mean, some amount of data can come from internet.
All right. Okay. What else? What else is massive? When you say large number of people, how many at the same time?
There is no limit for that.
No limit. Okay. Great.
And massive can also be the media. There can be different media involved.
Different media
in a
involved. Okay.
course.
So that will come to the course. So we'll talk about the course as well. Let me just make one here. I'll just call this course. So we put all the data content side here. Large amount of content can come here. What kind of content is this? And who provides it? Only the experts or somebody else also?
Only experts.
From the experts, okay. Anybody else contributes?
Yes, there can be views, like people can be interviewed. Case studies can be there. So those people will also provide data.
Who are these people?
If there is any case study,
Okay, case studies.
so these people will also provide data.
All right.
Their experiences, they will share their experiences. That also contributes to data.
Shared experiences, okay.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, all that content will come in courses. Great. What do you mean by, what else do you mean by course? Like, you know, even in your regular definition of course, what does course mean?
Subject or topic.
It means a particular subject, okay, or a topic. What else does it mean? What are the other characteristics of a course? I mean, you all taught courses, right? So what are the other characteristics of a course?
The objectives are specified.
Objectives are specified. So you start with some certain objectives.
Syllabus of that course.
Syllabus of that course is defined. Very good. Then
Contents.
Outcomes.
outcomes. I can write exams, exam scheme. What
Assessment.
else?
Assessment.
Right, assessment, exam scheme. What else?
Application area, application, specific application.
Okay. Application area or specific application.
If technical subject is there, practical contents are also important.
Labs. Okay, perfect. What else? What do you think is the role of time in courses? How is time factored into courses?
So duration given for drafting that particular subject.
No, I'm saying how is time factored in? Like there'll be a start date or a duration or a number of hours, right? Some time will be there. Start date starting on this date, ending on this date. We start at 1 o'clock, we'll end at 3 o'clock, like that, right? There'll be some duration of the course as well, right? Okay. Now tell me, what does that term open mean for you?
It is open for all, that anyone can register.
Okay, so let's say one meaning of that is that it is anyone can register. Okay, but they still have to register, right? They still have to provide some information of their own.
Yes.
But so I'll write that, but they still have to provide some information, some registration information. Okay. So it's not, it has something in between. Sometimes it may also be paid. Yeah. Or it might be initially, it might be free and then it might be paid. What else? What does openness mean? Resources are open for all.
You can access it at any time. The access is available at any time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's something that we can define at the anytime access.
Course can be accessed anywhere and anytime.
Okay, anytime, anywhere access is given here. Okay, I'll just write it here also, anytime, anywhere. What else about openness? In what other way is it open? Like, is the Swayam Mooc open for everybody? What are other meanings of open that you can think of?
It's a self-paced learning, I think.
Self-paced learning, yes, I've taken that. Okay. Anything else that you can think of in terms of, openness, or what does open mean?
From all stream, like engineering, pharmacy, medical.
From all stream, from any background?
Yes.
Okay. Good. That means from open, you also think of it as being many diverse students coming from different backgrounds, different streams, different professional backgrounds coming into the same course. No age limit. Somebody said no age limit. So that's also diversity, because age is also a factor in diversity. Topics are open for discussion. This is an interesting one. Who decides the topics?
The data provider.
Okay. So is it really open if somebody is dictating what topics can be discussed? Like, what if you as a student want, or a participant in that Mooc, you want your own topic to be there? Is it open enough for that? Do they allow that? Okay. Any other thoughts on openness? Okay, let's go to online. What does online mean? Okay, I'll just start. It's available on the internet. Okay, that's fine. But what else does online mean? Is it like one place where you go, like you go to Moodle and that's called a Mooc, or how does it work? Why online?
Online for more accessible point. It
To
should
make
be
it
more
more
accessible.
accessible, for sure. Okay. Okay. When you say accessible, accessible for whom? Like somebody speaking and writing and reading Marathi, is it accessible to them? An English course? Somebody who doesn't know Spanish and only knows English, and the course is in Spanish, is that accessible to them? How do you mean accessible? Just like being able to access the resource, or something more than that? Okay. One more thing on open is you can share your own thoughts. So I have one here. Normally, when you have seen Moocs, you have seen them at a single place, right? NPTEL, you go separately, one place where the action happens, like single platform. You know what you, which are the platforms that you have? Swayam, NPTEL, and any other Indian platform you know of?
Coursera.
UNESCO.
Any national one, Indian one? Coursera is of course there.
Sir, UNESCO.
UNESCO, okay. Infosys Springboard is another one. Okay, I'm learning some new ones. This is proprietary to Infosys, or is it available for everybody? And can you provide some more details on UNESCO platform? Yes, send them in the chat, okay? Great. Available to everybody. Great, fantastic. So using this, what we have just done is we've taken this. This is one important technique in making Moocs interactive also. I'm just trying to demonstrate this to you. As we go along through discussion, through a group discussion, we are making sense of this term called massive open online course. And all that we have done is analytically, we have broken down this into 4 parts. And each word, each term, we are trying to figure out multiple different definitions of it. And we are discussing around that particular thing. So one good way of bringing interactivity in Moocs is using this concept called sense making or wayfinding, where you have some territory that you don't know much about, or you have some information about, but the moment all of you get together, a lot of new thoughts are coming immediately in place. And in this case, I'm not telling you what massive open online course means. There's no expert. I'm not the expert here, but I'm learning with you. I just learned about Infosys Springboard being available to anybody, and I'll definitely look it up as well. But I learned from you that, okay, openness is anybody can register. They can come up with any topic, talk about anything. They can be diverse age groups from any background, no age limit. And what you're doing right now is you're constructing knowledge for each other as you speak. So I request you, as many of you who want to speak, who has something, whatever you want to contribute to this knowledge we are building up today. And I'll circulate this deck at the end of the session as well. Of course, it will be recorded, but I'll circulate this. But this technique of bringing interactivity in Moocs is called sense making or wayfinding. Wayfinding your way into a particular idea or particular concept. So imagine that, and this is for you to write, I would like you to write a little bit of, a short essay, maybe 200, 300 words, on how you can use this sense making in one of your courses. Whatever course you're teaching, wherever you're teaching it, to whichever audience you're teaching that particular subject or course, take any topic and show me how you can help students make sense of this. Use this technique to run it, rather than going into class and presenting a video or presenting a presentation or giving a lecture directly and saying massive open online course means this. Instead, try and find out what the students themselves, the participants in that particular program themselves know about the massive open online course. Find that, determine that, discuss that, and then go to your next topics. Is that okay? So please do think in your own context. Take any of your classes, take any subject, any topic that you like, and try and post that to us in the online group and let us comment and think about this. You can use the Slack channel for it, and you can start pushing the information there. You can send a link in the Slack channel, or if you want to put a link here, you can put a link in the chat here as well. All right. So I'll move to the next part of the question. Now we know what the definition of massive open online and course is. Now, what are the major elements? I think we discussed some elements. I'll just put them down from here. We said from a course perspective, we said exam, digital content, forum, discussion forum. We said, and we said, of course, there can be other things, right? What other things can be there apart from these three? Can you suggest what all other things can be part of this? Apart from an exam, some digital resources, links, a discussion forum. What are the other things that can be part of a massive open online course? Or right now, any course actually. What are the elements? Simulation, very good. Simulation software. Okay. What else can be there? What are other things that you used apart from these four categories? Online quiz, online assessment, online quiz, short quizzes, collaborative quizzes. Okay, agreed. What else? What are other elements? How do you reward students? Students who get a good score on a project, or at the end of the course, what do they get? In between the course, how do you reward them for their engagement or their course performance? Okay, what do they get at the end of the course? Perfect. Badge or certificate. What else? What are other interactions? What are other things you can do in a course, in an online course?
Pre-survey of that particular course and post-survey in terms of feedback, discussion forums.
Okay, survey, feedback. What else?
Assignments.
Very good. Assignments. Maybe projects. Real life projects.
Yes, sir.
What else? What else can we have in? Sometimes some games. Arts, okay. Data, so we can have data. We can put data there. How many of you have used a tool called Kaggle? Platform called Kaggle. Okay. Have you heard of this? Kaggle? Please look it up. Kaggle. It's a data source of data. Okay. Any other things? Any other part of element that you can think about? You can also get credits. So certificate, or you could get a credit. You could do a 4-credit course or a 6-credit course or 2-credit course and get credits here also, so that you can get credits. So that's also part of our Mooc. Okay. Anything else?
Exams.
Exams. Okay. So exams are here. Yeah. Exams are here. Okay. Okay. Let me go to the next one. Now, this is a more serious question. What do you think is the main approach or learning theory or way of teaching in this new digital course, in Mooc or on online courses in general? You can also talk about online courses in general, that is different from your classroom teaching. What changes when you come to digital, or what is the main approach that you follow, or is it the same as what you do in your class? Can you tell me any different things that you do online that you wouldn't do in class? I mean, don't worry about making a PPT which you can't show in class. You can only use the whiteboard. They're the same thing. They're almost the same thing. But what substantively can't you do? What is different between offline and online digital for you? Can you?
Students' response.
Students' response. Can you elaborate on that?
So there are teachers that ask the question online, but there are students like they do not give reply after
Okay.
asking from many of times.
Okay.
So this is something like little bit irritating or disgusting. Like
Student not responding is demotivating. Let's say demotivating or
right.
irritating at times. Okay, that's a challenge. Okay, I'll put challenges here. Online challenges I'll put here. This is what we're trying to solve, right? By making it interactive. This is what we're trying to solve. We're trying to figure out how students can respond. So very important question for all of you right now to think about. Why those who are not participating in this conversation, why are you not participating? Are you any different from students that you feel don't respond, that they demotivate you online? What is stopping you? Can you tell me, can you talk about that? Can you come out and just say, this is what I feel, this is, I mean, it could be I'm not interested, or I'm not, this is not making sense to me, or right, and I'm not feeling well, I don't want to talk about this. What is it that is stopping you from interacting in this particular FDP? Come forward and talk to us about it. Okay. But what do you think is the main approach that you should be following? Are you going into class and are you starting like I did with questions and sense making? Are you going and presenting a presentation and talking through 40 minutes or 1 hour, whatever the duration of your classes? How are you actually doing this? How are you doing? It's an interactive session. What is in the interactive session? What happens? What's the approach?
Sir, myself also starts with the question with whatever the data already students are having. And then I conclude it up to the topic which I'm going to start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is actually my approach. And the reason why we don't interact is might be the fear that might be we will be the wrong. And the same exists with the students also.
Okay. So for a moment in this FDP, forget that you can even say anything wrong. Okay. Assume that everything you say is right. There's no good or there's no bad at all. There's no judgment being passed on you. And how can you do that? So one of the very important pieces that I think is part of interaction, and I didn't write this in my slides, but this is the most important piece. How have you built trust? So how have you engaged with each participant and built a kind of thing? If you say something, it won't be taken as wrong or right. It will be taken as one input to the entire discussion. So how do you build that trust in students? Are you using any technique to do that online today? Then you're absolutely right. If you feel judged, you're not going to be able to. Yes, perfect. So appreciate those who responded. How do you appreciate that? Okay, so all the questions and the contribution that people have done. Did anybody say, great work, Jayashree, that's a great point, or great work, Geethi, that's a great point, or Rohit, your chart idea was great. Why don't you tell each other that you value each other's contribution to this FDP? Why don't you go ahead and use the chat, appreciate, call out people, maybe start a small discussion with them saying, no, I think chart is not important, but maybe this other form of data is much more important to be used. Why don't you, between the 100 and how many participants do we have now? 200 odd participants that we have right now. I'm sure there'll be few people who will who are making comments who will really benefit from your encouragement. And maybe you will also feel encouraged to, also type in your contribution here. So why don't we begin with trust and start? There's no judgment. Please go ahead. There is no problem. Whatever you want to speak or write, please write. There's no judgment that anybody is making. So right, okay, great. So maybe trust is something in an online environment becomes more important, because when you are doing trust relationships in very small groups, like 4 or 5 people, it's easier. You're face-to-face or virtual. You can connect individually to people. You can see body language and see who is responding in what manner. But when it's online, it is all dark. You don't know what's happening on the other side, whether people are listening or not listening. But if you have built trust, and if you have built a safe place for the students to come up with their ideas, then you'll be surprised at the kind of interactivity you can generate. So trust as a second principle after wayfinding, I think building trust is a very important piece. So look at your practices. Tell me how you build trust. And if you don't, what are the ways in which you can build trust with your students? Yeah. What else should be part of what is part of your approach? Anything else that is part of the approach? Which is very uniquely digital. I mean, which is something that you cannot do any other way. Think about it. Tell me what the main approach is. How interactive? Okay, do you allow your students to come prepared with the class and teach you? Has anybody in this room been taught by the students? Like you give a topic in semiconductors or artificial intelligence and say, okay, supervised learning, this person is going to come and teach the entire class tomorrow instead of me. Not just short seminars, just actual classrooms. Are you saying short seminars within the class itself, or Okay. Personalize. So somebody is saying personalize. Geeti is saying personalize. Okay. Personalized interaction. Do you agree with that? Does everybody agree with that statement? So call names. Call by name.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Call by name. Others also can respond to Geeti on the chat, whether they agree or not. Make this interactive for yourself. If you make this interactive, what will happen is that you will understand the value of interaction in Moocs. If you don't make this interactive, then you will walk away thinking this was just another session. So I encourage you strongly, interact, talk to others who are making these points, discuss with them online here on the Slack channel if you like, wherever you like. What else? What are other things that you do or you could do differently online than what you're doing today in class? What else do you think is necessary? How do we overcome the break? We've got 200 brilliant teachers on this call today. I'm sure with 200 brilliant teachers, we can find out how to address the problem of interaction in online classes. Give us your thoughts. We'll learn from you. How else can you break the barrier of non-participation? What are things that you have tried and have not worked for you? Okay, so short seminars, maybe do a round robin, ask them, okay, variation of the same approach. Identify one person or do a round robin, say today this person will speak, tomorrow that person will speak, like that. What else? So as we go through this session, think about those challenges and start thinking of what are the other techniques you can bring in play for making the participants more interactive, bringing more interaction into the system. Think about those pointers as you move ahead. And then what do you think is the main outcome of the Massive Open Online course? Is it like this, like, you'll get a certificate only and that's the outcome? What else will, apart from getting a certificate or credit, what is the outcome? What will you get at the end of it? What do you want your students to walk away? What do you want you to walk away with as a teacher? So what are teacher outcomes? What are student outcomes? Talk to me about those. What are the outcomes you desire from Moocs?
Must gain the knowledge about the topic.
Must gain the knowledge. Okay. What else? Upgrade the knowledge, upgrade the knowledge. Okay. All right. What else? What will they do after they gain knowledge? Does knowledge mean just marks, or knowledge means really understanding how that particular concept works?
Application of the knowledge to solve problems.
Solve what kind of problems?
Just what we can say, based on the course or course related problems. I mean, in an engineering field, kind of.
Okay. So are these problems that are academic problems, or are these problems which are community problems, social problems, or new inventions? What kind of problems?
In community problems or academic related problems. After taking knowledge, student must be able to apply the logic to solve the problem.
Perfect. Okay. What else? What are the other outcomes? Okay. Share knowledge and try to solve the queries. Okay. Okay. What are other things that you would like to have? What is the main outcome that you like to have? Other main outcomes apart from these?
They become more satisfied.
Okay, satisfied, very good point. Satisfied, happy. These are terms which are more emotional terms, but they must feel satisfied, happy that they learned something and that they are able to apply it to something, to a real world problem, to solve it or to gain something in life. That's very good. Okay, happiness is extremely important on both sides. On both sides, I'll write that. Very good. For as a teacher, for you, what is the main outcome? What are the main outcomes for you? Are the main outcomes? Okay. What are main outcomes for you? What should you have done? Okay.
So self-confidence will improve
Very
to
good.
teach the students.
Fantastic. Very good. Confidence will improve. What else? What will you have learned? While teaching the students, what would you have learned? Like, what are the new things that you would have learned? Confidence, respect. Okay, respect is a very important thing. Fine. Okay. What else? Since we're talking about interaction, is there a goal or an outcome in terms of interaction that you would like to set now?
Yes.
What kind of goal would that be? Give and take process is right. What kind of interaction goal would you like to set in the class? Today, where are you? Is interaction with only 10% of the class or with 90% of the class? Online.
$10 to 20%.
Okay. So as a main outcome of the course, would you like that to go up to 30, 40, 50% or more?
More, sir.
Okay. Interaction ratio has to increase. Okay, great. Listening carefully. One of the things that emerges very clearly is, and that's a brilliant point. I think Jayashree, this is a very, very, very important point. Listening skills, developing more and better listening skills over time. Many of us don't have that. We go in and we just talk about our own ideas and we don't listen to people, but listening is as important as contributing. So I'm assuming the people who are not contributing are listening very intensely. Patience.
Might be.
Okay, patience. Okay. Great. Lastly, there's one question I wanted to put, and I think it touched upon it a bit here, but I think I would like to know from you, where do you think that a massive open online course is situated online? Like, is it always going to be on a single platform, or is it going to be across multiple platforms? That same course. Like one approach is I go on to Swayam, I pick up the topic, the course, open the module, then go to the video, then take the test, then take the second video, then take the test, like that. I can do the entire course like this. There's one place. I'm just going to one place and that's where I'm studying. Okay. Multi-platform. Can you give me some examples of these multi-platforms when you're doing a Mooc from anywhere, from SWAYAM, from NPTEL, anywhere you're doing? Can you give me examples how it's multi-platform beyond SWAYAM, for example? No, SWAYAM is one platform where you get a course. Coursera is another platform where you get a course. Once you get into Coursera or SWAYAM, you are just inside it, right? Discussion forum, exam, quiz, video, everything is inside that one platform. Does something else happen outside that platform also? So Pooja, you said Coursera, SWAYAM, Udemy, Udacity, many such platforms. But when you go for a course there, you are only on that platform. Have you come across any example where you've used more than that one single platform?
No, sir.
Anything for quizzing? Have you used Kahoot?
I have heard about it.
Okay, so one example is Kahoot. What you can do is quizzes. Perfect. Okay, so there are some gaming assessment tools like quizzes, like Kahoot, and many other tools that are there that allow you to like send a link to your student for an assessment. It could be a single question, it could be multiple questions, and you can see how the students are performing and get an instant report there. So yeah, that's been one of the platforms that has been used, right? Any other platform? Flipgrid, great, okay, wonderful. Flipgrid is another kind of tool, okay, that's been used, perfect. Sharing of ideas, thoughts, writing short posts, yes. What else? Has anybody seen any other platform? What's a GoToWebinar, Deshi? Skillshare, what are these platforms? Skillshare. What does Skillshare do? Send us information on Skillshare, please. So, but basically, yes, you can share your lectures as well. On what? On YouTube?
So Quora.
Quora, okay. How would you use Quora to spark discussions?
So yes. If you have any confusion, then we can ask that question on Quora, and we get the answers from the experienced persons.
Okay, from anywhere around the world, people who have experienced that question will get that. This is a brilliant example. Okay, very good. I'll just make it bold. Great. Because these are different in the sense they are limited to your course community. Almost, right? Or to people who have access to these. But Quora is a universal tool. It's got access to the entire world. So if you have a question to ask and you don't know the answer to it, you might, or you want to get perspectives on that question, then you can go to Quora and ask them for those, ask people to contribute, and people do that across the world. So that's a great way of getting external opinion into the course. What about LinkedIn or other social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn? Do you use any of those platforms in your courses?
No, sir.
Say Youth for Work.
Youth for Work, what does that do?
So we can give that online test like everyday practice.
Okay, so practice could some way here. Okay, great. Great. Okay. So the idea is that the massive open online course largely sticks to one, but you can add on certain more features like these skills based or lecture dissemination through video or discussion through Quora. You can even use things like LinkedIn. So supposing you're teaching a course in semiconductors and there are 3 people who are expert in the world, you can share the LinkedIn profile for students to connect to them. or to Twitter. So you can create a wider network of people that they're learning from. One of the things that massive open online courses helps us to do is, like you said, expose content. But in addition to exposing content, you can also expose your network, people that you think are very important in the field that your students should know about. If they learn about their work, then they will improve in their own studies as well. This is also part of what is called as open. How open are you to sharing your space, you and your students, and the space that you've created for them, with other people outside the space, network experts, other people who are interested, who can mentor or support your courses as well. That also is a part of being open as a teacher. For example, we've got 200 teachers here. Would you invite one of your colleagues here on the FDP to help you mentor some of the student projects? Right? Are you open to that? Can you do that kind of collaboration? That is, you have to think about that also, and that also adds interactivity hugely, because not only does it give the students a more diverse perspective because they're interacting with other experts, but also between you as teachers, it creates also a network where you can learn and you can share from. Okay, so great. Thanks for the interaction so far. I'll quickly jump into a bit of history on Moocs. I didn't introduce myself at the start of this call, but I've been part of the Massive Open Online course evolution since the first Massive Open Online course in 2008. And I always find it instructive to talk a bit about the history of Moocs so that we understand what exactly Moocs are, how they were thought about, and try and learn from that and see if we can employ some of the principles of that here. So for the next few minutes, I will just talk about a little bit of Mooc history. These are things that you'll normally not come across in your FDPs. I'll just take you through some of the histories here. So one of the really important things is to understand how Mooc started. One of the ways we look at it is Moocs were started by people like Richard Levin, Daphne Koller, Andrew Young, who formed Coursera in 2012, with people who formed Udacity, most famously Sebastian Thrun, who actually started this all off in 2011 with his initiative called No Labs, according to popular stories. And then Anant Agarwal, whom you will know from edX, who started edX, and Erin Bali, the person from Udemy, who started Udemy as well. These have been people whose names and whose activities you've heard of, whose platforms have become very synonymous for you. From your perspective, these are the Moocs that you really know about. Then we'll talk about the kind of interest that they have garnered over the years. So you'll see they were called the single most important experiment in higher education back in 2012 when the hype started for these Moocs. They became very famous suddenly, and people started saying that higher education will be overrun by Moocs, and they are the really important piece. They got a lot of investment from a lot of people, starting from Bill Gates and Khan Academy, and so much investment in Coursera, Udacity, edX, and so on and so forth. And they all started on the trajectory there that they are going to make education universal to everybody. So somebody made the point that subjects, too many topics. So these people have so many topics now. There are 80, 90, 100,000 different courses or more on these platforms. And there are so many Mooc providers now across the world. It has just mushroomed as a very big industry. But what the formula was basically was for these early Moocs like Coursera and others was to take some really top universities, with a lot of brand value, like, you took Harvard coming on board, or an MIT coming on board, and so on and so forth, and then combine it with the traditional practices of what they used to do in class. Take it to a global platform and make it free. So they took this formula, this one formula they took, and tried to scale this to a very large audience. And today, 30, 40 million people on one platform, 50 million people on one platform is not hard to imagine. That's how big this entire space has become. And we have all experienced it. For its ease, you can find any course. Of course, there have been issues that retention rates have been low, or that people have not completed the courses because there's not too much of personal touch. People say it's largely, video based, you're not interested in, and all those problems have been there. And like you said, like rightly said, they thought these Moocs, they thought of massive as number of learners, open, they thought free to access. And I'm trying to tell you that what you have thought about Moocs is what they had started the concept of massive open online course with. The assumptions and the ideas and definitions that you have told me today are what they started out with. These ex-Moocs started out with when in 2011 and 2012. They also felt that online meant a single platform, that they will bring all the users to their platform, millions and millions of users to their platform. And then at some point, firstly, they'll keep it open, but at some point they'll start earning money from it as well by monetizing. And that's what we have seen has happened, that these organizations have a revenue model to sustain the kind of investment they have been given. So that's what the popular story about Moocs is. So this is what happened. And in fact, Udacity's CEO Sebastian, he basically, his idea was he'll take 9 elements of a course. And remember, I was talking to and asking you what the elements of a course are. And he thought that these were the 9 elements: admissions, lectures, professor interaction, peer interaction, problem solving, assignments, exams, deadlines, certification. He thought these were these 9 elements. And in the classroom, you could only do lectures and maybe a bit of professor interaction and peer interaction and some exams, but you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't make it completely open to millions of students. And this thought that these are the elements of a course, and these elements need to be put online, is what we are experiencing today. So the important point I'm trying to make is that these Moocs were started with the thought that we will transpose our physical classroom practices to online. And if you look at how you have seen your courses, the Moocs, or if you have participated in some Moocs, you'll know that it is largely this. Maybe they would have added a Kahoot, maybe they would have added a simulation on top of this, but largely what you were doing in the classroom has moved online as such. Similar here, for example, the Mooc structure that SWAYAM is offering, 4-quadrant. Somebody said 4-quadrant. These are Moocs means 4-quadrant, and these are the 4 quadrants that are there. And given that this is just one standard form that everybody has to follow in India, being a rigid framework, it may be commonsensical. So I'm not saying it's wrong, but it is a rigid framework that every time you think about a Mooc, you have to think about e-tutorial, e-content, assessment, discussion forum, and that's it. That's what a Mooc already is. So that is one aspect I wanted to emphasize, that Moocs were thought to be a formula. Using the formula, you could go online, you could design these courses for the largest number of people, and it would work for everybody. And the unfortunate truth is, and why we are having this FDP today, is that we've done all this, but there is no interactive, nature of the Moocs, or the engagement in these Moocs is very, very low. And therefore, we have to think about what our approach really is here. And the approach has been more of broadcast. Even on Coursera and other places, you get a video from an expert, that's a broadcast. You are learning from experts at your own pace, at your own time. Yes, that's great information. But where is the collaboration? Where is the growth of knowledge? Where is the personalization of content to that particular student? That we don't have in these models at all. And extremely teacher-led mechanisms here. And the key outcomes, again, they thought of exactly this: credit, certificate, diploma, degree, badges. They created something called micro-credentials, which are still there. Then they've got degree programs also running on Mooc platforms now, and so on and so forth. There is a great amount of work being done in apprenticeships and jobs as key outcomes as well, which we didn't touch on when we discussed key outcomes. And they looked at a largely single integrated platform with the discussion forum, ask an expert, assessments, assignments, all the things we discussed, right? So if you put it all together, there is a specific way in which these Moocs were constructed. They took elements of our current experience at that time, whatever state of e-learning was there, whatever state of classroom was there, they merged that and made it into a large scale endeavor. And this we know. This is what we have done. I'm just saying that what you have told me in matches with what they had started out with. But I'm going to take you to the original Mooc history. I'm going to take you 3 years or 4 years before these Moocs ever started, before Coursera came, before edX came. And to the original Mooc history, what happened and how it was created. And this is, I think, fundamental for you to understand how interaction is going to work in Moocs. If you understand this, then your Moocs will become much more interactive. And these Moocs were actually born in 2008. I was fortunate to be part of the first CMOOC that was done in 2008. This was created not as a result of, we want to go online for a large number of people and give them videos. That was not the story. Or that we want to democratize education. That was not the story, because that's obviously not been the story so far. But the story was that there has been a lot of work that has been done in these areas. First area, informal learning. Some people believed, including J. Cross, who coined the term informal learning, who was also the father of e-learning, as they say. So he said that 70% of our learning is really going to be discussion. 20% is going to be one-on-one or a small group coaching. And only 10% of our learning is probably going to be a classroom-based formal learning method. The rest is all informal. And he sort of informed a lot of the approaches in corporate learning, as well as other forms of organizational learning, through this concept of informal learning. Second concept was around communities of practice, which talked essentially of, and this was by Professor Etienne Wenger, who talked about how groups of people can get together around a common domain area and they can excel in that. And these communities of practice were communities of practice or of areas. For example, it could be in semiconductors, it could be in AI, it could be in any other, thermodynamics. It could be any community of practice which is which has people who are looking at different aspects of that particular problem or topic. Apart from them, there were 3 or 4 things, main developments in this field in network science. So people started worrying about how individuals are connected to each other, or individuals and machines are connected to each other. Chaos. I don't know if anyone of you has heard of chaos as an area, but it's that creative disorder, the edge of order, as they say. Nothing is very simple. We are dealing with very complex systems. These systems adapt, they self-organize, and they looked at these theories and said, how can we look at people who organize themselves for their own learning, how they can take control over their own learning. And then things like social media, which has really exploded around that time. and neuroscience, which had started creating some new insights about how the brain works through the fMRIs and other initiatives. And the three people who founded this, I had the privilege of getting them to India in 2012, were these three professors from researchers and professors from Canada, George Siemens, Stephen Downes, and David Cormier. And they together in fact, the person on the right on your screen, Dave Cormier, is the man credited with the name Massive Open Online Courses. So together we did the first MOOC in 2008. It was called Connectivism 2008. Connectivism was the theory of digital learning that was informed by all these main concepts in neuroscience, social media, chaos theory, and so on and so forth. And they created this curriculum. In fact, very interesting experience was that before the course started, it was a 3-month course. Before the course started, they were asking the participants, what should we be discussing? This is the broad area. Now, what should we be discussing? And nearly 2,200 people from around the world joined this particular MOOC, and they ranged from novices, starters, to experts in the field, and they all came in and joined. Their interpretation of massive open online courses is what I want to present to you. First, they said it's massive not just in numbers, but also in terms of diversity. So you have to understand that in your course, the learners who are there, it's not just the number of learners you can reach, but how you can address many diverse backgrounds and cultures. That is a really important piece here. Similarly, massive, not just numbers, but also density is what they talked about. Density means what is the density of interaction? Somebody said 10 to 20%. But here the focus was on how to create that dense connection, dense network, and I'll show you a couple of very nice images on how that could be achieved. When they talked about open, they talked about an open culture of collaboration. And what does that open culture of collaboration mean? Not just opening up your classroom to discussing new topics or letting students come up with new things, but also creating the curriculum with them, or devising how they will learn with them, and getting them ownership in their own learning as well. That was what here, and also inviting the external network to help them. And then online, I'll show you a graphic just now. It's not just for access anywhere, anytime, but it's decentralized. That is, happens at multiple sites of learning, and not all sites of learning are controlled by the teacher. That also is a very interesting thing here. The course part of it was, I always had issues with it. It was more indicating a period of time or a shared curriculum rather than saying, okay, we will complete and get these outcomes by this date. That was not how the course was supposed to be considered. It was a journey. It had specific outcomes. The outcomes were not a certificate. That outcome was essentially that you learned something out of the picture, out of the entire experience. And this was the underlying theory of learning that they developed. I don't know how many of you are aware of theories of learning, but apart from the behaviorist, the cognitivist, the constructivist theories, they came up with a theory called Connectivism, where they said that learning is process of making connections between ideas, concepts, people, things, even devices. They believed even devices have knowledge enshrined in them. And we talk of pedagogy, they talked about something called heterogogy, which is self-determined and capable learning, focusing on the learner. Teacher's agency or teacher's direction was really much reduced in this model. And they feel that the capability to learn by making connections transcends the capability to know and do, like the regular things that we do through projects or knowledge sharing or to gain knowledge. They thought that, yeah, learning is good. Learning is important. Learning knowledge is important. But the capability to learn is even more important than the learning itself. And that's another very important point of interactivity that I would like to leave with you. that try and see if you can spot how your students learn and build that capability. They will automatically learn new knowledge. But if they don't know how to learn, then you'll always have issues with them. By no central place of learning or teaching, if you look at this one, this is very interesting. There was, I just point to these icons here. So if you can see, this was the Moodle site that they had, where they had general forum, etc., links, class homepage, etc. But beyond this, there's nothing else. I mean, people went to tools like Technorati, Bloglines, PageFlake. The instructors had their own blogs. We used Flickr. There's a tool called Delicious at that time. SlideShare you might have heard of. Google Groups, right? They created blogs here. I had my own blog as well. And then there was a Wikipedia page, wiki page as well. There was a course stream, course Twitter. There was a YouTube-like service called Ustream. And can you imagine that the only thing that the three instructors controlled or they managed was this piece, just one small piece. Otherwise, it was the participants who were creating. I heard of some people in Spain who created their own small group online. Somebody did it in Second Life in the virtual reality. They did that also. And everybody else was writing on their own blogs and so on and so forth. So there was no central place for learning or teaching that we assume that this is one place, you go here, you'll find all content in that place. It's not like that. You allow much wider interaction. What this does is actually it allows the students to feel that they own something, that they are actively creating something. And when you allow them to go across to different places, you can always link back and say, okay, my participants or my students did this work. But essentially, they are going outside, other people looking at their work, and they are trying to do various new things outside what the regular learning management system like Swayam or Moodle or anything is going to be. So give them the freedom to go elsewhere and create other things and come back and show you what they have done. And that is giving them ownership about what platform they want to use. I was in an FDP a few days back, and teachers were saying the Diksha platform, the Swayam platform was limiting because they didn't give this kind of feature or that kind of feature. So I would suggest that one really important piece of building interactivity is finding tools like these. Let your students learn about these tools, let them create content on those tools and come back here to your central site whenever they want. So the key principles of interaction, I talked about agency to take control of their own learning. So autonomy, learning to learn, that is a key important piece of how you should frame your Moocs. Diversity, increasingly students are taking charge, and you must let them take charge, bring their diverse experience into the classroom. Connectedness, very important piece, how connected they are to experts and other practitioners in their field. Like Connectivism says that to learn is to connect. And that is really important. And then finally, looking at interaction, and the key point there is that learning is really conversation. If we can talk, if we can discuss, then learning happens. If you're going to broadcast, learning will not happen. So similar kind of ideas that they put forward in the design of Moocs. And I'll give you one very interesting example. Please feel free to stop. I've been speaking. Can you go ahead and let me know if you have any thoughts so far? Any questions or thoughts so far on the distinction between the two types of Moocs? The one that started a little later in 2011, 2012, and the ones that were originally conceived. How they thought about interaction. Any thoughts around that? Anything? Can you relate to those thoughts in your classroom or in your practice at all? Please unmute or just write into the chat.
Sir, I had a different question, if I can
Yes.
ask.
Yes, please.
I mean, earlier, no, when it started in India, people started learning online. It was before pandemic that I know. I agree, 2007, 2008, that was the period. But like Moocs came in 2008, but still some online courses were there. And I remember of doing some online small certificate course long back. So now when Moocs have come, still why people don't opt? I mean, people like us who are into teaching field and into the diploma colleges or any other college, because those are not like what I would say validated. They are not approved, accepted for promotions for whatever purpose. Na? So that is the only thing. Otherwise, that is only apprehension for going more and more and learning more and more. I mean, learning should be without any what I can say selfishness. You should be what I can say for the sake of knowledge and information should be there. But again, when we are building our career, we need that validation. Even if whatever courses. So in this session, if you can put some courses which are like validated by AICTE, DT, and because this is Vidyalankar Polytechnic, so maximum staff may be from diploma. So MSBT, सब approve करे ऐसा कुछ course अगर आप बता देंगे, so that would be like more added knowledge on this topic.
So courses तो बहुत रहेंगे जहाँ पे आप अपने आप डिजाइन भी कर सकते हैं, आप रन भी कर सकते हैं कोर्सेज. जो अप्रूव्ड हैं कोर्सेज और जो कुछ कोर्सेज हैं जो टीचर सर्टिफिकेशन करेंगे वो तो AICTE वर्क की साइट पे अगर वो कुछ देते हैं ऐसी सर्टिफिकेशन ऑनलाइन अप्रूव करते हैं तो डेफिनेटली होंगी. आई नो फॉर स्कूल टीचर्स वो दीक्षा प्लेटफॉर्म पे उन्होंने सबको डाल दिया था कि आप अपने जो रिमेनिंग सर्टिफिकेशन है वहाँ कवर कर लीजिए. तो वैसे अगर फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम मे बी AICTE comes up with such professional development courses or online other online courses like what is called your orientation refresher courses online, they start coming out, you start getting that, and then you start getting your in your performance appraisal you can put those courses that I attended that, I attended this. Or for content development, if you are doing some content development for Swayam, then you get some credits also in performance appraisal. Point is that you can of course do a lot of these certifications yourself, and some of them can be certified by body. It will help you in doing getting performance increment or getting an appraisal done. But that's not the point. The point for this particular workshop is more in saying that if you are going to design a Mooc, what is that Mooc going to look like? And for that, it is important to understand what the Moocs were and how it was to be designed. But I'm sure you'll find many reasons to go for Moocs. You may go for professional development. You may go for the fun and joy of it. You may go for getting a performance appraisal, tick mark on your PS sheet. It could be various things. All these are good aims to have. Right? So I'll show you a very interesting thing in Moocs. There's a Mooc called Rhizomatic Learning in 2014, again done by Dave Cormier. So, and I'll give you some background behind this first. So this is a common, you can see a forum, discussion forum. You would have seen this earlier also in Moodle or other places. So there are threads and there are students who are writing that thread and so on and so forth. So what some people did was they took this representation, this kind of data, and then converted it into something like, show you sometimes hangs this, and they figured that there were different types of interactions. One where the teacher is at the center and everything is being interacted with the teacher. So teacher is either saying or receiving, and teacher becomes the hub of the entire system. Many discussion forums end up like this. The teacher is saying, or many learning experiences turn out like this. But there's also on the right hand side, if you see, there are other types of interactions where a lot of peer-to-peer learning is also happening. Not just that, the figures in green are lurkers, what they call as people who are listening in, who are looking at the conversation episodically, but they're also learning from this network. And at some point, they may become part of this network also. They also started doing things like this. They started modeling what could be these interactions. So you see a very dense network in the center. These are people who have been interacting a lot with each other. Whereas at the peripheries, you find these yellow dots who have not really interacted with anybody, and they are lurking in the background. This kind of modeling, intuitively, you know what your class looks like, right? But this kind of modeling can help you understand. When the course started, people were in different places. They were like weakly connected to each other. You can see a lot of distance between these, not too many dark lines between the people. So they were not very connected. There are many unconnected, disconnected people who are in the space. In the first week, and this ran for I think 4 to 6 weeks. In the first week itself, we saw suddenly a huge amount of interaction, and this interaction was being modeled by tracing the network connection. This was on Facebook, so they could see actually what is happening on this network. So you can see that some lot of dark green lines indicating the extent of interaction was happening here. And there were some clusters that were beginning to form here in week 1. In week 2, they became slightly more defined. These clusters and these interactions became more defined. You can see some more visible clusters. The larger the size of the circle, the larger the sphere, the larger the interaction or hubs. You can see one on the top. The red seems to be more like a hub and spoke with somebody at the center. This is how it looked in week 3. This is how the interaction looked in week 4. And this is all being modeled by social network tools. When you think about, and at the end of the course, towards the end of the course, we had, again, slightly lesser cohesion as people were starting to break up and get back to their work. So really, what you're looking at is that in a Mooc, the interaction and the kind of sort of the modeling you have for data, that can be done in very different ways as compared to traditional classrooms. And you may be looking for other measures of deciding whether it's interactive, if the Mooc is interactive, or if you need to raise interactions in the Mooc for yourself. So these are different ways in which we have thought and talked about talking about Moocs and how to increase interaction in Moocs. As the next step, of course, you could do multiple things. One particular thing you could do is pick an area in what we have discussed right now. Pick any one area or any one area out of your experience in your college, in your course, and create a short write-up about it and share it with me. So I'll give you all about 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes if you want. Why don't you go ahead, share your thoughts on this, these new ways of interaction, the different types of Moocs that I've shown to you. Which one do you prefer? What kind of things you are taking away from this session? And I will just pause my presentation for some time, and I'll just wait for your comments to come through. Okay. Any questions? Of course, I'm ready. I'm willing to take. And you can paste a link if you like, or a statement, or whatever you want on the chat itself. Any reflection that you have on Mooc? So I'll just type it here. Reflections on raising interactivity in Moocs. Please comment on other people's opinions as well. Whether you agree or you don't disagree. And any questions you want to ask, I'm available for that.
Any questions from participant side? Hello? Hello?
You give them some time to write on the chat their reflections.
Okay, candidates, any questions from your side?
No.
Sir, can we conclude here?
Yes, if anybody wants to write something or contribute something, please unmute, else we can also close.
Okay, thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. Thank you all participants for participating in day 1 session. Thank you all.
Thank you, madam. Thanks to the faculty also.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, feedback link will be sent to you on the group. You have to fill the feedback form for today's sessions. Okay.
Okay,
We
fine.
will stop here and we will meet day after tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very
madam.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, people, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.